I was the last virgin left at elite academy, not by choice. Not by innocence. But because I was the one every wolf wanted to hunt, the one they whispered about in the dorms, the one they dreamed of catching in the moonlit woods. The rules were simple: when the horn sounded, they would come for me. Dozens of alphas in training, born killers with teeth like knives and eyes that glowed with hunger. My task was to run. To fight. To survive, and if one of them caught me, then my body, my future, my very soul would belong to him. But that night, when the horn split the air and the shadows closed in, I didn't fall into the arms of just any wolf. I fell into the arms of Damien Blackthorne, the alpha every girl at the academy worshipped, the one who was already promised to another. And as his silver eyes locked on mine, hunger and ruin blazing there, I realized something no one else dared whisper. The real danger wasn't that he'd catch me, the real danger was that I wanted him to. They called it the hunt. Once a year, when the moon swelled full and silver over the spires of Elite Academy, every virgin was released into the woods at the edge of the grounds. Packs of wolves, alphas, betas, heirs of ancient bloodlines prowled through the darkness, waiting to claim what was most prized. This year, that prize was me. I'd spent the weeks before the hunt pretending to study, pretending to eat, pretending not to notice the way every gaze lingered on me just a little too long. Whispers followed me through the glittering marble halls. The last virgin. The untouched prey. I wasn't the prettiest girl at the academy. I wasn't the richest, or the most cunning. But I was the last, and here, that mattered more than anything. Virgins were rare. Coveted. A status symbol, a trophy, a conquest. I hated every second of it. The night of the hunt arrived with a cruel clarity. Moonlight spilled over the courtyard where we were gathered, 10 of us shivering in white silk slips that offered no warmth against the chill. Our bare feet pressed against marble, already cold from dew. Professors watched from the balconies above, faces unreadable masks. The rest of the academy crowded the edges, a sea of glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos, eyes bright with hunger. We were prey. They were predators. And tonight, the game began. My heart hammered as the headmistress raised her hand, her long nails catching the moonlight. Run, she said, and we did. The forest swallowed me whole. Branches clawed at my hair, roots snagged at my feet, and my breath came in panicked gasps. Somewhere behind me, other virgins screamed, high, desperate, cut off abruptly. The sound of snapping jaws and the growl of wolves echoed through the trees. I ran faster. I wasn't strong. I wasn't fast. But I had always been good at surviving. Slipping into shadows, finding the spaces no one thought to look. That instinct drove me deeper into the forest, away from the screams, until the night was still but for my ragged breathing. I pressed against the trunk of an ancient oak, clutching at the silk clinging to my sweat-damp skin. Maybe I could last until dawn. Maybe, if no one caught me. A twig snapped behind me. I froze. The air shifted. Power rolled through the forest, thick and suffocating, pressing against my lungs until I could barely breathe. It wasn't just any wolf. It was an alpha, little rabbit. A voice drawled behind me. Deep. Smooth. Dangerous. Do you really think you can hide? I turned slowly and saw him. Damien. He leaned against the tree line as though he had all the time in the world. Tall, broad-shouldered, his black hair a sharp contrast to silver eyes that glowed in the dark. His suit jacket hung open, the white shirt beneath it unbuttoned just enough to show a hint of scarred chest. He was beautiful in a way that wasn't safe, a knife's edge kind of beauty, meant to cut. The most powerful alpha at Elite Academy. Heir to the Blackthorn pack. Already promised to Celine, the golden queen of the school. He shouldn't even be here. He tilted his head, his eyes raking over me, slow and thorough, as if stripping me bare. So this is what they were all fighting over. My throat went dry. Stay away. He smiled sharp, amused. Say that again when your scent is driving me insane. I realized, too late, that I'd been sweating, trembling, running. My virgin scent was thick in the air, sweet and sharp, impossible to hide. His nostrils flared, his eyes darkening, his wolf pressing closer to the surface. I backed away. You can't. You're already promised to Celine? His smile turned cold, predatory. He pushed off the tree and stalked toward me, slow, deliberate. Do you think I give a damn who they think I belong to? I stumbled back until my spine hit the rough bark of the oak. He didn't stop until his hand braced the trunk above my head, caging me in, his body a wall of heat and dominance. You're trembling, he murmured, his breath brushing my cheek. Is it fear, or something else? I hated my body then, the way my pulse fluttered beneath his gaze, the way my thighs pressed together without permission. I'd sworn I would never want this. Never want him, but my wolf, the part of me I barely understood, the part that had always been quiet, stirred at his presence, reaching for his. Damien inhaled deeply, his eyes flickering gold. Fuck. You're perfect. I shook my head, my voice a whisper. You already belong to someone else. His lips curved into a dark smile. Not anymore. And then he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was acclaiming, rough, consuming, his mouth hot against mine, his tongue demanding entry. My hands pressed against his chest, meaning to push him away, but the strength in him was overwhelming, and God's help me, my body melted instead of resisting. His growl vibrated against my lips as his hand slid into my hair, tugging my head back just enough for him to bite at my throat. Not breaking skin, not yet. Just a warning. A promise. I gasped, heat pooling low in my stomach. You taste like innocence, he murmured against my skin, his voice wrecked with hunger. And I want to ruin you. Damien, I tried, my voice trembling, but he silenced me with another kiss, his hand sliding down, tracing the curve of my waist, tugging me flush against the hard length, pressing against his trousers. My breath caught at the feel of him, shock and desire tangling inside me. I shouldn't want you, he admitted against my mouth, his words rough, ragged. But the moment I scented you, I knew. You're mine. The word sank into me, heavy and dangerous. Mind, I wanted to deny it. I wanted to shove him away, to remind him of Celine, of the rules, of everything this would cost. But my body betrayed me. My hands curled into his shirt, dragging him closer, and Damien, victorious, growled into the kiss, deep and primal, a sound that reverberated through my bones, and I knew, in that instant, I was lost. He didn't claim me fully, not that night. The hunt raged on around us, screams echoing through the forest, blood and sex scenting the air. But Damien pulled me into his arms, carried me deeper into the woods, and curled around me as if daring the world to try to take me. I lay against his chest, trembling with adrenaline, confusion, and a desire I had no name for. His heart beat steady beneath my ear, his arms locked tight around me. You're safe, he murmured, pressing a kiss to my hair. No one else touches you. Ever. I should have been afraid. Should have fought him. Should have begged for release, but instead, I closed my eyes and let myself believe him, and for the first time since I entered Elite Academy, I didn't feel like prey, I felt like his. When dawn broke, the hunt ended. The survivors, virgins who had been caught, claimed, or broken, stumbled back into the courtyard, their slips torn, their throats marked with bites. Professors recorded the bonds like merchants tallying ledgers, and the crowd of students roared with approval. I should have been one of them, but I wasn't. Damien carried me out of the forest in his arms, my silk slip still intact, my throat unmarked. Gasps rippled through the courtyard at the sight. The most powerful alpha at Elite Academy returning, not with a claimed conquest, but with the virgin untouched. Celine was waiting. She stood at the front of the crowd, her golden hair gleaming in the morning light, her emerald gown flowing like spilled silk. Every inch of her radiated power. She was everything I wasn't: wealthy, beautiful, cruel, and destined. Damien's betrothed. The future Luna Blackthorn. Her eyes landed on me in his arms, and I felt the weight of her hatred like a blade pressed to my throat. Put her down, she said, her voice ringing through the courtyard. Damien didn't even glance at her. His grip only tightened. Whispers surged through the students like wildfire. He ignored her. He defied her. Celine's eyes flashed with fury. She's no one. A weak little stray who doesn't even deserve to breathe the same air as us. You think she can be your prize? Finally, Damien looked at her. And when he did, the courtyard fell silent. She's not a prize, he said, his voice low, carrying. She's mine. The words thundered through me, sinking deep, setting fire to something I hadn't even known existed inside me. My wolf, fragile, dormant, always overshadowed by everyone else's, held in response. The crowd erupted. Some with gasps, some with laughter, some with outrage. Professors exchanged sharp looks. The council members at the back whispered furiously, and Celine's perfect lips twisted into a snarl. You'll regret this, she hissed. Both of you. The weeks that followed were hell. Celine's fury seeped into every corner of the academy. Doors slammed in my face. Notes were slipped under my pillow, full of threats and promises of what they'd do to me once Damien wasn't watching. In class, professors ignored my raised hand, or worse, called on me just to humiliate me. Everywhere I went, eyes followed me. Curious. Hungry. Cruel. The virgin had become the mate. And no one forgave me for it, but Damien. Damien never left my side. He walked me to class, daring anyone to meet his gaze. He held me through the night, his body a shield against the whispers that haunted me. He pressed soft, reverent kisses to my temple when no one was watching, and fierce, hungry ones when they were, and every day, the tension between us burned hotter, because he hadn't marked me. Not yet, not because he didn't want to. I saw the way his eyes darkened every time he caught my scent, the way his hands trembled when he touched me. But he was waiting. For me. For the moment I stopped fighting and admitted what we both already knew, that I was his. Entirely. It happened late one night in his chambers, the fire in the hearth cast flickering shadows across his room, gilding his bare chest in gold. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching me pace, his silver eyes burning. Why me? I demanded, my voice cracking. Out of all the girls here, Celine, the others, why me? His gaze tracked me, sharp and hungry. Because none of them ever made my wolf bow. I froze. He stood then, moving toward me with that slow, lethal grace that made my heart trip over itself. His hand caught my chin, tilting my face up until his eyes locked on mine. You, he said, his voice low, fierce, reverent all at once. The moment I scented you, I knew. You're the only one who was ever meant to be mine. Heat flooded through me, wild and unstoppable. My hands trembled against his chest. Damien, his lips brushed mine, barely a whisper of a kiss. Say it, he growled. Say you're mine. I should have denied it. I should have thought of Celine, of the academy, of the danger, but instead, I whispered the truth. I'm yours. The sound that ripped from his chest was half growl, half moan. His mouth crashed onto mine, and this time, I didn't resist. I clung to him, desperate, hungry, as his hand slid down my body, memorizing every curve, every shivered. He carried me to the bed and laid me down like something precious, but the look in his eyes was anything but gentle. You have no idea how long I've wanted this, he rasped, his fingers tracing the hem of my slip. How long I've dreamed of tasting you. Then show me, I whispered, breathless. Something snapped in him then. His control shattered, and Damien, the alpha everyone feared, the wolf promised to another, worshipped me with his mouth, his tongue, his hands, dragging me apart piece by piece until I was writhing, begging, crying his name. When he finally slid into me, claiming me fully, my body broke around his, the bond snapping into place with a force that left us both gasping. My wolf howled in triumph, his answering growl echoing against my skin. It was forbidden. It was reckless. It was dangerous, and it was perfect. The next morning, Celine was waiting outside his chambers, her eyes flicked to the mark blooming fresh on my throat, then to the bruises scattered across my collarbone. Her face went white with fury. You'll regret this, she whispered again, her voice shaking, but I didn't. Not for a second, because I was no longer the virgin everyone hunted. I was Damien's mate, and God's help anyone who tried to take that from me. Life after Damien marked me was war. The academy pretended to smile. Professors congratulated us in clipped tones, students bowed their heads in mock respect, and the council sent word that the bond was not ideal, but binding. But beneath the polite masks, hatred seethed, and at the center of it all was Celine. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't beg Damien to come back to her. No, Celine was smarter than that. She smiled, wide and sharp, and began dismantling me piece by piece. Friends I thought I had stopped speaking to me. Tutors turned their backs. My books went missing from the library, only to reappear slashed to ribbons. Notes written in blood-red ink appeared on my desk. Slut. Thief. You'll choke on his name before he ever calls you Luna. Every night, I buried my face in Damien's chest and told him I was fine. That they couldn't break me. That I could endure this, but inside, cracks were spreading. The breaking point came 2 weeks later, at the Academy Ball. It was meant to be a celebration, the bond between Damien and me presented to the entire council, a formal acknowledgement of what had already been sealed. Damien had chosen a gown for me himself, crimson silk, plunging neckline, slit high along the thigh. A gown that screamed ownership, defiance, danger. You'll wear it, he told me, fastening the diamond at my throat. So they know you belong to me. I wore it. I stood beside him, my arm hooked through his, while the ballroom glittered with candlelight and music swelled. Celine stood across the room in a gown of pale gold, her smile serene, her eyes venomous. For the first hour, she didn't approach. She let the whispers swirl, let me squirm beneath the weight of hundreds of stares. Damien never left my side, his hand resting possessively on my lower back, his gaze daring anyone to challenge him. Then Celine struck. It happened fast. A glass tipped, a spill of wine across my gown, an apology murmured too sweetly. And then the heat. burning, searing, spreading across my skin. I gasped, clutching at my stomach, as pain licked through my veins like fire. My knees buckled. Damien caught me before I hit the floor, his roar echoing through the hall. Poison, he snarled, his eyes flashing gold as he glared at Celine. What the fuck did you do? Celine only smiled, her voice silken. She doesn't belong here, Damien. And you know it. The council erupted into chaos. Some shouting for her arrest, others whispering that it was my fault, that I was never meant to be Luna. But the fire inside me didn't kill me, it woke something else. I remember the moment it happened with terrifying clarity. The poison hit my heart and my wolf rose. Not weak. Not fragile. Not silent as it had been my whole life. It surged forward, roaring with ancient power, shattering chains I hadn't even known bound it. Light exploded from my skin, bright and blinding, throwing Damien back and silencing the hall. Gasps echoed around me as my body convulsed, my nails sharpening into claws, my teeth lengthening into fangs. I collapsed to the floor, but I didn't break. I shifted, not into the gray, trembling wolf I'd always imagined for myself, into something bigger. Darker. My fur shimmered black as obsidian, my eyes glowed crimson, and the power that rolled off me sent even the professors stumbling back in fear. A bloodline long thought extinct. A wolf born of shadow and moonfire. A true alpha's mate. Celine staggered, her perfect mask cracking for the first time. No, she whispered. That's impossible. Damien's eyes burned silver as he stared at me, his wolf bowing instinctively to mine. Not impossible, he said softly, reverently. Destined. Celine struck again, but this time she didn't use poison. She shifted in a blur of gold fur and fury, launching herself across the ballroom at me, and I met her midair. The fight was brutal. Teeth clashing, claws raking, snarls ripping through the stunned silence. She was fast, vicious, trained. But I was something else entirely primal, unchained, born of blood and shadow. Every time her fangs sank into me, my body healed. Every time she tried to pin me, I threw her back. My wolf, the wolf that had always been silent, fought with a savagery that made even Damien hesitate. Finally, I slammed her to the marble, my jaws at her throat, her golden fur matted with blood. Her eyes, wide with fear, locked on mine. Please, she whimpered. Don't. I didn't kill her, but I marked her. Deep. Across the throat where everyone could see. A reminder she would carry forever. Celine, the girl who thought she owned the world, brought to her knees by the virgin she tried to destroy. When I shifted back, my gown in tatters, blood streaked across my skin, the ballroom was silent, and then Damien was there, wrapping me in his arms, kissing me with a desperation that shook us both. You're mine, he whispered against my lips. And I'll burn this academy to the ground if anyone ever tries to take you from me again. That night, Damien made good on his promise. In his chambers, with the firelight flickering across our bare skin, he worshipped me again, not just with hunger this time, but with awe. His hands traced the marks Celine had left, his mouth kissed every wound, his body moved against mine like prayer. When he sank into me, slow and deep, our bond thrummed so strong it felt like the walls would shatter. My wolf arched toward his, our souls twining, sealing something that no council, no Celine, no academy could ever sever. We weren't just alpha and mate. We were fate. By morning, word had spread through the academy, Celine had fallen, and a new power had risen in her place. They didn't call me virgin anymore, they called me Luna. The morning after Celine's fall, the academy was silent. No laughter echoed down the marble corridors. No whispers followed me as I passed. The very air seemed to tremble, waiting, watching, wondering what I would do now that I had shed the name of virgin and taken on the mantle of Luna. Damien walked beside me, his hand threaded through mine, his silver eyes fierce and unyielding. Anyone who dared to meet his gaze quickly looked away. He didn't need to speak for the message to be clear. She is mine, and I will kill for her. But I no longer needed his shield. For the first time, my wolf walked with her head high, her presence radiating through me. Students who once sneered now lowered their eyes. Professors who once ignored me now bowed their heads. I was no longer prey. I was power. The council summoned us within the week. Their chamber was carved of dark stone, lit by torches that flickered shadows across their stern faces. 12 of them sat in a crescent, robes heavy with gold embroidery, their voices echoing like the law of gods. Damien Blackthorn, the eldest, said, her eyes sharp as steel. You have defied our arrangements. Celine was chosen as your Luna. Yet you discarded her. You claim another. Damien didn't flinch. He squeezed my hand once before letting go, stepping forward into the center of the chamber. I didn't claim her, he said. His gaze cut to me, softer for only a heartbeat. We claimed each other. The bond was not forged by politics. It was written by the moon. The council muttered among themselves, some shaking their heads, others frowning. And you, the eldest said, turning her gaze to me. The girl they once called virgin. What right do you have to stand as Luna of Blackthorn? Every eye turned to me. For a moment, the old me, the girl who hid in shadows, who tried to survive quietly, trembled at their judgment. But then my wolf rose, steady and strong, and my voice did not waver. My right, I said, lifting my chin, is that I carry the blood of the shadow wolves. A line thought extinct, but alive in me. My right is that when Celine poisoned me, I rose. When she struck, I did not fall. And when the Alpha of Blackthorn scented me, his wolf bowed not to weakness, but to destiny. The chamber went still. One of the younger counselors leaned forward, his voice hushed. Shadow wolves, the legend said they could not be killed. That the moon herself favored them. Legends, another scoffed. But his voice lacked conviction. I stepped closer, letting my power roll through the chamber, letting my crimson eyes flash in the torchlight. Not legends. Truth. You saw it with your own eyes. The eldest's mouth thinned. For a long, tense silence, she studied me. Then finally, she inclined her head. So be it. Let it be recorded, the Virgin of Elite Academy is no more. In her place rises the Luna of Blackthorn. The coronation was held beneath the next full moon. The Academy's courtyard, once the stage of my humiliation, now shimmered with silver banners and blazing torches. Students and staff gathered, their faces a mix of awe and fear. Celine was nowhere to be seen. She had been cast from the academy, her throat scarred, her future shattered. I stood in crimson silk once more, my throat bared. The diamond Damien had fastened there weeks ago, now replaced by something far heavier, a black crown wrought of obsidian, ancient and sharp. A crown that once belonged to the shadow wolves, retrieved from the vaults where it had been buried. Damien knelt before me, his head bowed, offering his hand. My Luna. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The most powerful alpha kneeling, submitting, not because he was weak, but because he chose to. My heart clenched. I placed my hand in his, and he rose, pulling me into his arms, his lips finding mine in a kiss that silenced the world. The bond between us pulsed, a living flame, our wolves howling in unison beneath the full moon. When he pulled back, his voice was raw, reverent. I swear before them all, no matter what comes, no matter who dares challenge us, I will burn kingdoms to ash before I ever let you go. My own vow rose unbidden, fierce and certain. And I swear I will never again run from what I am. I am yours. I am Luna. And together, we are unstoppable. The courtyard erupted, not with jeers, not with whispers, but with howls. Wolves bowing, voices raised, power trembling through the air. Later, when the torches burned low and the crown grew heavy on my head, Damien carried me back to his chambers. The world outside could wait. The council, the students, the legacy of the shadow wolves, all of it could wait, because in that moment, there was only us. He laid me down gently, stripping away silk and crown, leaving me bare in the firelight. His touch was reverent, his gaze worshipful, but his hunger was still there, the hunger that had first driven him to claim me in the forest, the hunger that would never fade. You were never prey, he murmured, tracing the mark on my throat with his lips. You were always meant to be my equal. My queen. And you, I whispered back, pulling him closer, were always meant to be mine. The bond thrummed, deep and eternal, sealing the promise we had made beneath the moon. And as Damien moved over me, inside me, loving me with every part of him, I knew this was the ending no one had expected, not Celine, not the council, not the academy itself. The Virgin was gone, the Luna had risen, and she would never fall.